Starting with our blank scene, I just dropped in the character and centered her in the center. We can go to File, Save Current Level As. I want to save it as level 03 underscore pillars. Let's make a new sequencer right away and call it SQ underscore pillars. Then I want to go to the modeling mode, create box, click. Let's increase the height to about 500 and the width and depth to 75 and accept. And I want 3 of these in a perfect triangle shape. So to get the triangle, I'll actually just make a cylinder and set the radial slices to a minimum, which is 3. Accept. And then you can hit R to scale on just the X and Y axis and scale this up. And then you can just use it as a guide for where you want the pillars to be. So I just paused the video and made copies and moved them to the corners. So you would just select it, hold Alt to make a copy, then move it to each corner, and then you can rotate it to face the character. And we can just hide the triangle. Now I need these 3 pillars to be just one static mesh so I can emit smoke out of them altogether. So with all 3 selected, I'll go to Xform and merge, and the name should be pillars and accept. And so you can see under type it says static mesh and it's all 3 actors together. So now we can go to our VFX folder and we can reuse what we made previously. So you really want to get in the habit of creating templates for yourself. And as soon as you've done something once, like a nice smoke simulation, by all means just reuse it instead of creating everything from scratch again. So I'll just make a copy of our NS Desert Monster and call it NS underscore pillars. And we can just delete the initialize mesh reproduction sprite and the update mesh reproduction sprite. And so under particle spawn, this time we want to use a static mesh location because we only need the particles to be born on the pillars. They don't have to stick to them over time. And so we need to select the pillars, Control B, navigate to the static mesh asset, and then just click on the arrows here to assign it and say fix now for the CPU error. You can enable the sprite renderer so we can see it. Drop the NS pillars into our scene. Reset the location to 0. And so they're huge right now. So under initialize particle, let's set the sprite size back to 10. Now I want to give these particles a little bit of gravity to force the smoke to go down even more. So under particle update, I will add the gravity force. And it's going to be too strong by default. So I want to click on the arrow and say random range vector. And I want it to be 0 on the X and Y. And the Z axis, let's do -25 to -50, just to give them a slight movement going down, just like this. Now under initialized particle lifetime, let's set that to 1. And under emitter summary, we can draw the bound so we can see that. Under forces, I want to set the wind to 0. Let's also turn off the sprite renderer. Under render tab, we can reset the smoke color back to white. And under collisions, let's enable use mesh collisions again. So now we need to fix the pivot so that it's nicely centered. 0 on the X, 0 on the Y, and I did 0.25 on the Z. It doesn't have to be as tall, so maybe just 750 on the Z axis. And we need to make it wider on the X and Y. So let's do 2500 by 2500. Nice. And I need the smoke to dissipate much faster. So that's something we haven't touched yet. That's the dissipation rate density. Again, density means smoke and dissipation rate means how quickly does the smoke disappear. So the higher this number, the faster it disappears. I will set it to around 0.65. I'm kind of looking for it to dissipate before it reaches the border so that we don't actually see the edge of the simulation. So let's increase this to 0.85. And now you can go to create light, point light, reset the location and give it a nice sort of icy bluish color. You can turn off the directional light. And for the point light, don't forget to search for cast and say cast volumetric shadow. And then search for volumetric scattering intensity. Set that to 5 and raise it up. And then we can increase the intensity, increase the source radius to soften the shadows, and increase the attenuation radius to extend how far the light travels. For the ground material, I will use this wind-swept snow from Quixel. So apply that to our floor. And for the simple environment, I will use these 3 ice cliff assets. Drag it in, scale it up, move it to the side. And I basically just want to build this super basic ice environment around the simulation. So I'll just pause the video and do that. All right, so I just copied those around, and then I'll hit G again and grab my light, hold Alt, and maybe make another copy of this light, but lower the intensity a lot, just to kind of illuminate the smoke from the other side as well. But I want it to be a lot darker back here. Maybe one more copy on the other side. Uncheck auto activate and activate it again so you can see what it looks like from the start. And so we have a very simple, heavy, dry ice, cryogenic smoke, whatever you want to call it. And in the next video, we're going to add some sparks and electricity